A dive 15 years in the making. It was October 1941, and at the time the British 8th Army was on the back foot in North Africa, engaged in a bloody battle and struggle against the might of General Erwin Rommel's Panzer Tank Division and Afrika Korps. The British military had devised a plan, known as Operation Crusader, to break the siege and push Rommel back. But to do so, it was in urgent need of supply. This was over a year before Field Marshal Montgomery would eventually defeat Rommel at the famous Battle of El Alamein. The SS Thistlegorm was part of a convoy dispatched to aid with the resupply and, by herself, was a fairly unremarkable ship. Built by Joseph L. Thompson and Sons in Sunderland, she was commissioned in April 1940 for the Albion Line, and her name Thistlegorm is an amalgamation of thistle, the national flower of Scotland, and gorm, an ancient Gaelic word for the colour blue, so blue thistle. Her designation SS or steamship reflects the fact that she was a civilian vessel rather than HMS, His or Her Majesty's ship, a designation usually reserved for military craft. Classed as a freighter, she was approximately 128 metres in length with a beam width of 18 metres. Since she hadn't originally been designed for combat, Thistlegorm was outfitted with the concrete panels and steel plating, with an anti-aircraft gun and a 4-inch cannon bolted onto her stern. The cannon, now pointing forlornly at the seabed and occasional home to a moray eel, was a relic from the First World War, and according to one anecdotal report, was fired only once during a test voyage to the Caribbean, where it was declared that it was probably safer to stand in front of the barrel rather than to sit in the gunner's seat. Under the command of Captain William Ellis, and with a crew of 39 men, 9 of which were Royal Navy gunners, the Thistlegorm set sail on the 2nd of June 1941 from Glasgow, laden with supplies for the army. On board were 2 Stanier-class locomotives, complete with coal tenders and water wagons, trucks manufactured by Ford and Bedford and the old British manufacturer Tilling-Stevens, motorcycles from BSA, Matchless and Norton, and small tanks known as UC, Universal Carrier, the Mk2. Along with the vehicles, she was carrying generators, aeroplane wings, and an assortment of odds and ends for which nobody really knows what the purpose, and of course the famous Wellington boots. Needless to say, she was also carrying a vast supply of arms and ammunition. Hundreds of crates of Enfield .303 carbines, the standard issue of the British 8th Army, were packed into the forward hold, and towards the stern ammunition of all sizes, from bullets for small arms to the massive shells for the batteries of 14-inch shore guns. She was also carrying underwater mines, which are still live to this day. The shortest route to their destination would have been to sail through the Straits of Gibraltar and into the Mediterranean. However, with the Axis forces, the German and Italian navies, controlling much of the Mediterranean at the time, this with a vast amount of tonnage lost to the German U-boats in an attempt to reach the remaining British stronghold of Malta, it was decided that the safest way, although by no means free of danger, was therefore to circumnavigate Africa, head into the Red Sea and into the Gulf of Suez. After 4 months at sea, the SS Thistlegorm, part of a convoy of 16 ships and accompanied by the Royal Navy cruiser HMS Carlisle, was ordered to lay at anchor at Sharb Ali in the Straits of Gubal, not far from the South Sinai coastline, a location designated as Safe Anchorage F, while the wreckage of a tanker was cleared from the entrance to the Suez Canal. At the same time, German military intelligence had received information that the RMS Queen Mary, a cruise liner which was converted into a troop ship, was passing through the area. 2 German Heinkel HE-111 bombers, captained by Lieutenant Heinrich Menge, were probably the most technologically advanced aircraft of the area, and equipped with 2.5-ton high-explosive bombs, were dispatched from their base in Crete with orders to search for and destroy the Queen Mary. This would have been a significant coup for the German propaganda machine, to sink not only a troop carrier, but also the British Royal flagship. Fortunately, especially for the 1,500 Australian troops she was carrying, the German information was a few hours late and the Queen Mary slipped by unnoticed. Running low on fuel and ordered to return to Crete, the 2 bombers were following the Sinai coastline, where they stumbled upon the Thistlegorm's convoy by complete accident. Attacking without warning, they targeted the Thistlegorm as one of the largest ships in the convoy and dropped their payloads. It was 1:20 AM on the night of the 6th of October 1941. The crew were already bunked down for the evening and completely unprepared for a surprise attack in a location they had thought was safe. The Heinkels flew in so low that if their undercarriage had been deployed, it would have hit the Thistlegorm's mast and superstructure. The guns were probably never even manned or much less fired on the Thistlegorm, and the Carlisle was helpless to respond. At such a low angle, she could not open fire for fear of hitting other ships in the convoy or her own superstructure, her big guns effectively rendered useless against aircraft. We know that at least one of the bombs hit the ship, and in a split second the Thistlegorm was stricken. Striking just after the bridge in hold number 4, the bombs hit the engine room, and the first thing to happen was that the engine, still powered under steam, exploded, followed only a few minutes later by the ammunition store as fire spread throughout the hold. The force of the explosion was so powerful that the two steam locomotives, which were weighing more than 70 metric tons each and chained and bolted to the deck, were flung through the air where they came to rest some 30 metres away from the hull of the ship. Half of the superstructure was removed and the steel plating of roof of hold number 4 torn open like a tin can. At approximately 1:39 a.m. on the 6th of October 1941, the SS Thistlegorm sank, taking 9 souls with her. And this is very important to remember. She is a war grave and should be respected as such. In the aftermath, the surviving members of the Thistlegorm were rescued by the Carlisle, who then apparently deposited the civilian crew on the Sinai coast, where they were smuggled back to Cairo by Bedouin and eventually on back to England. The 2 bombers were shot down later the same night and their crews captured and shipped to Australia as prisoners of war. The wreck was later discovered by Jacques Cousteau in 1956, although by discovered we mean he asked some local fishermen where they thought the wreck might be, who then pointed to a small flotilla of fishing boats which were tied to the Thistlegorm's mast, still standing out of the water. He recovered the bell and brought a few other things to the surface, and then promptly chopped down the mast so that nobody could find it, and then he proceeded not to tell anybody where it was. It was rediscovered several times later, mostly by British divers, German divers, Russian divers, Israeli divers, etc. But the truth is, it was never really lost. Since then, it's become one of the most popular wrecks in the world, and it's very important that we don't lose it. This is more than just a dive. This is a history lesson you won't find in a museum on dry land. This is an up-close and personal testament to the horrors of war. Ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present to you and welcome you to the Thistlegorm. Hi Mum and Dad, it's me. As you've already seen in the videos, already some pretty amazing dives that have been taking place. We're now here at the Thistlegorm. The Thistlegorm is somewhere down there. I've already done 2 dives on the Thistlegorm so far. It's absolutely amazing down there, as you will soon see. First starting with the night dive, and secondly today's dawn dive. And we'll be going back in a minute. We're going to be making 3 more dives here, including tonight's night dive, before moving on. So without further ado, I present to you the Thistlegorm. Enjoy!